And I'm Delaney Hoppus.
And we are part of Group 151C.
Alright, so in Module 3 we were asked to create a hybrid object. And after much of our empathy research, we came across with a problem that really sparked our interest. And we found that people like military personnel, refugees, and disaster relief workers are usually in remote locations that are short on energy. And they need to have a shelter that is easily portable and provides them with an energy source. Currently, these people are using makeshift tents and have a generator for an energy source or are using no energy source at all. And that's a problem because generators are very heavy, they're a safety hazard, and they're pretty bad for the environment. So our group created the IntelliTent. It's a solar-powered tent that we discovered through research on photovoltaic fabric. This is a fabric made out of new technology called solar cell fibers. These are made out of little plastic fibers that can trap light and absorb solar energy. These fibers are then weaved into a fabric in a grid-like formations for the fabric to act as a battery to store the energy, like our
This is our prototype we had for Module 3. It's really rough, but we just showed with yarn how the weaving would work, and then we just had a little light for an example of what the energy source would be. And we made it round so that it could get the solar energy from all of these different angles.
Alright. And then we also did research about the energy produced by the fabric, and we found that the basic equation for calculating how to produce energy is 2 kilowatts times the average daily sunshine hours. And then some of the products that the users would use the electricity produced for would be light bulbs, fans, radios, heaters, and laptops, which we found use a lot less energy than we expected they did.
So going into Module 4, we had the opportunity to either pivot from our previous product or continue along with it to make it even better. And we chose to just change a few minor details of our IntelliTent to make it more beneficial. And so at the start of Module 3, we had the opportunity to make this mind map, and that allowed us to really break down the main areas of Module 3 for what we wanted to focus on in Module 4. So the main 5 areas that we had were increasing safety, technology, materials, marketing, and user and empathy. So starting off with our empathy, we tried to contact various groups that would address our original 3 users for Module 3, and we ended up having the most feedback from the military members that we contacted, and so all of their information made us realize that our tents would be the most beneficial for that one user. And so we interviewed 3 people, Master Sergeant John Williams, Colonel Lee Bachma, who is a professor of the military science here at UNL, and the Private First Class Thomas Peters, who is one of our group members' brothers. And from these 3 interviews, we mainly took out 2 problems that we wanted to address with our tents. First was that the military now has a lot of electricity blackouts, and they have no privacy. And here's a quote from Ann's brother that they sleep in a confined space with about 30 other people. So that just really seemed uncomfortable with us, or for us, and we wanted to have our tents help this problem. And they also said things like the tents would need to be durable, the color restrictions from the Army is that they have to be gray, black, or different shades of green, like a camouflage. Everything has to be set up in a grid system for the community, and their bigger tents in the community are used for things like mess halls and mini clinics. Branching off of this empathy, we did more research and found this very eye-opening fact about the military members. Currently, fuel gallons for the generators are delivered to areas far from where the soldiers are stationed, and so from this, 1,000 troops die a year for the fuel convoys alone. So this fact reassured us that our tents really were going to make a difference because it was going to eliminate the use of a generator. So after these first initial steps going into Module 4, we established exactly what we were going to change for an add to our project. So additional to focusing on the one military user group, we chose a specific tent material, focus on pricing of our tents, and the tent community instead of just the one tent. And we then modified our POV statement to military communities need private, easily portable, and energy-efficient shelters that provide them with a safer way of getting energy because the locations they are deployed in lack a safe and renewable way of obtaining power. So again, the military we found would benefit the most from these tents, but why? One of the main reasons is because we found that they have the highest budget out of those 3 users. From 2011, their total budget was $664 billion, and from that alone, they used $20.2 billion for air conditioning, and then you can see that the drastic change from what they used for the tents. So with our tents, they'd be eliminating this cost of the air conditioning, and would allow them to use more money for the tents. And so then for the material we chose, it was polycotton canvas. And through research, we found that this is a natural cotton blended with polyester It's light fabric, but it also has a lot of strength, so it's durable. It can be treated to be waterproof, and it's only $1 to $5 per meter. So to make this affordable take fabric, you would just have to add on the $2 to $4 per meter that the solar cell fibers cost. This led us to calculating the price of our tents. And based on the size of our tents and the price of the material, the individual tents would cost $844, and the large tents would be about $2,000. And this may seem like really pricey, but again, we chose the military because they have such a high budget, and our tents would take away fuel costs, and they would have long-term financial benefits. For the tent community, we still use the grid-like setup since that's what the Army uses, but we designed the layout for how our tents could be set up. So on one side, it would be individual tents to act as their residential area. And then that was going to help their privacy issue because they would each have their individual tents to sleep in. And then the other side would have the bigger tents for the community area, and that would act as like their mess halls and all that they were saying from the empathy. And then also in our design process, we considered making all the tents go into one central energy source to make it more of a community aspect. But then we realized that that was just going to be a safety hazard because there were going to be so many cords laying around on the floor that would just be really unsafe. And then, so the large tents through empathy, we found that they would be used for things like chapels, receiving and processing centers, administrative areas, dining areas, storage areas, and clinics. And so then we made a rhino model, and this is the tent size that we made our big tents to be, 40 feet by 20 feet and 10 feet high. And then, again, the individual tents would be used as their living quarters. And these would be 8 feet by 8 feet and 4 feet tall. And then here is just the final prototype edition we had. This would be the whole tent community, the big tent set up over there, and these are the individual ones for the residential area. And that's just the...
Okay, so in conclusion, we have created a product that can easily address a major military budget issue and also produces a safe renewable energy source.
Well, from Module 3, we were focusing on 3 different users, but then we wanted to not have that broad focus and just focus on the military, so we get just more specific empathy, and then we realized that they had the budget to be able to afford it.
And the other people we focused on were like refugees and disaster relief workers, and they don't have nearly as much of a budget to go off of and like manufacture and produce mass amounts of tents.
How much do you figure a tent would cost by one of the smaller tents?
It was $844 roughly. That was at most because we took the $5 of the fabric instead of $1 and then $4 for the solar cell.
That's a spot where you might have done some tallies to show us how you just said it was money saving, but if you compare tent costs and then the reduction in fuel cost over time, you instead of just saying it, we could have seen the amount of saving in the same way that you kind of tallied up that 1,000 lives are saved a year. Yeah. How much did you guys, first of all, this is a photovoltaic fabric?
Yeah, that's what our main focus on.
Where is this being used elsewhere at this
Well,
point?
it's a really new thing right now, but there's research done. I can't remember the university that's doing it, but they are making these solar cell fibers and trying to weave it into whatever they can. So they were saying like on your sweater and just that type of stuff. But we thought it would be the most beneficial for the tent so that they could have this in areas for the military.
Yeah, that's a neat.
It was really cool.
product. How much did you guys look at other solar devices and kind of
Yeah, at
layouts?
the beginning of Module 3, we always wanted to focus on the tents, so we were thinking like panels and stuff to put on top of the tents, but then we realized that that was probably going to make it too heavy and it wasn't going to be easily portable because they were going to have to carry those around too. But with this fabric, since it's just weaved in and it's flexible and it's lightweight, and we thought that that would be best for our tent.
I'm just thinking that, you know, things like orientation and angle to the sun. I get that this was maybe more of a research project than
We wanted
a
to
design
test it.
project, but kind of, at least some examples of kind of, especially because you're redesigning the whole camp and the tent at the same time. So if you had a bit of precedent in terms of how surfaces catch sunlight efficiently efficiencies of different orientations and things, it would be a pretty small design change, which is something that would show that your tent is not only made of this material, but also that the form is doing that.
And we wanted to go out and test it and see how the sun, the angle of the tent, so we had no means of doing that. We did two big tents and seeing how far apart they would have to be set up, but we really didn't think of that.
Yeah, well, you have to contact the university and ask them for some test materials.
Like, we definitely made them round so they would catch all angles of the sun easily.
Yeah.
So you don't want to do like flat or anything.
Well, so that's a great point. If that's the intent, then maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. This came up in the last one too. If that was your thinking, I did. Maybe I just didn't catch that. But clarifying that. Yeah.
I think there's a sort of practical side of all this sort of thing, but I want to focus a little bit more on the empathy. Once you pivoted and decided that your market was the military, believe me, price point is a big deal to the military. Just think about the budget cuts they're having to go through right now. They don't have a lot of money as part of it. So that's not how I would have foregrounded the thing. I would have tried to connect the dots between what they're saving in one place and another place. So in the end, the net result was less money. That wasn't done, and I think it's essential to say we chose them. Basically, what I got the best of, we chose them because they got enough money to pay for it, as opposed to the assessment. That's not going to fly for them. They care about it too. Even wealthy people care about how much they pay for something. So everybody, they want it to be demonstrated as how this is in the big picture stage. So you want to connect those dots. But on the empathy side, I think once you decided to pivot toward the military, I would have wanted you to tell me more about what an average soldier needs power for, why it's going from a big group of things where a core of these people who live and die together is better to sort of segment it to these smaller things. Is it better that they keep that as free to core by having a larger thing? Because they depend upon each other for their lives. So you need to sort of convince me and you want to convince that military client that you really understand what those people in the field need. What would they use this solar tent for? I mean, do they really need power? You know, in the end, do they really need it? Because a regular tent is a lot cheaper than this. So you have to demonstrate why this is essential for the modern warrior to be successful as a part of it. And so that's sort of really convincing your client. Once you pivot to the military, you have to convince your client to understand what they really need in the field and what this unit, this free to core is about and how this is going to make it better. Those are the things that would really convince them that you really know my people and you care about those people and you're going to make it possible for them to survive better. That would get them excited about thinking I'm going to spend a little bit more on this within the larger scheme of things. But you really didn't spend much time. Once you made that pivot, you didn't convince me that you understood the market. And so I think within the empathy side of it, once you hone in on a particular market, you really need to know that market. You need to convince those people that indeed I really understand and I know where you're coming from. I'm one of you as a part of that. And then you get into they start to sort of get past, this thing's going to cost a lot more money than the other tent. And I can justify it within this and that and that. And you did present some of those things in a couple places, but you didn't link the whole picture together. You're forcing your audience to make those connections. You can't do that. You have to make those connections for them. Because they're just, unless you really get them excited about by the empathy side, where they're willing to make that other thing, they're not going to do it. They're going to say next as a part of it.
I would also say in this particular group, my son's are Marines, and there's often a tension between the needs for our officer staff, engineering staff, and their research school. And when you were talking about privacy, I thought about the private market, what those young the upper echelon has some really solid reasons for why it's like, kind of like experience on campus.
Yeah, we thought
In
about
some
that.
respects.
Yeah, we thought about that, like, what, like, there must be a reason why they don't have this privacy, but then when we talked to Ann's brother, he said that, like, that was a problem for him, so that's.
Oh, absolutely. And the individual soldiers, they hate that. They just like long for privacy. But there's really good reasons why they don't have it. And so I think when you're presenting it, further clarification of exactly, who's going to buy it, and who's going to be most interested in it, and then maybe sensitivity to ultimately the user is the private, but people that are going to pay for it are the ones that are hard to.
And then there's the practical side. They can determine if they really need power. How much power do they need, and how much power can this tank generate? Is there a match between so that question, just as I talked about the water capacity thing, how many people could it serve, and last one, this road. Okay, how much power can this really generate, and what do they need it for, and is that a match? So that they understand the connection between what this is going to facilitate and what it needs to do. And if it doesn't need to be in this, maybe it only needs to be in certain tasks. Or then the next thing is, well, one tenth do it, maybe not. Maybe this is about making a network, and all the tenants are contributing to the power needs of a particular tenant. So it has the ability to be networked, it has the ability to be standalone and provide a minimal amount of power. So the versatility of your product to be able to facilitate different circumstances makes it a stronger setup.
That's a nice
like the last project, this one has a problem scaling. And I think as when you approach a design problem, like this or any kind of design problem that you're continuing, I know this is the first semester of college education, so for what it's worth. You almost have to know everything about what it is that you're diving into. It's kind of like a kit of parts. So with respect to the military, you're solving just take the tent for instance. That's whole pieces of itself. Like, what's an actual tent look like? So you almost have to buy a tent and spread it apart, tear it down, and actually look at the tent and how are you going to actually improve it. And then take that and scale it up to the city, and take that, scale it up to the whole system, take that, scale it up to the lifecycle costs. So that part of it was, for me, just kind of missing from it. And it would help kind of hone into different aspects of the actual product that you're making. If you kind of understood how this thing kind of scaled up. And it would easily satisfy, at least to me, when you're looking at